Thank you for joining Sports Development Series. We yours truly, Boma Ekiora. Thank you for joining Sports Development Series. We yours truly, Boma Ekiora.
All right, SportDev series. Welcome everyone. I have my main man here, number one Arsenal fan in the building. Egal from EgalTV. Egal's my man. I consider him an expert in EPL football, but he has EgalTV. He's a diehard Arsenal fan, so sometimes his analysis is not always objective, but he tells the truth, man, and I appreciate that. What's up, man?
You're a Chelsea fan. I expect you not to like my analysis on Arsenal or any club. Let's be honest. When we talk about Chelsea, I'm quite fair with you. But majority of these people who I speak to over here about Chelsea, they're quite delusional. So they think Chelsea is good enough to win a cup this season. They think Pochettino is going to save you guys, put you top four.
Oh, man.
At least you have lower expectations. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, very low expectations.
This season.
I don't think it's reasonable for anyone to have high expectations. I mean, when you think about it, it's totally new team. I was looking at all the guys that left. Conte, Mount, what's his name that came to your team that saved us in Champions League? German striker. German forward?
Kai Havertz?
Kai Havertz. The Moroccan. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. They all left. It's a totally... The team, if you think about it, the team that won Champions League, where Kai Havertz had the beautiful solo goal, and you look at this team now, everyone's gone, maybe except for Thiago Silva.
That's true. Yeah. Who's left? Chilwell,
Thiago Silva. That's it. Everyone else gone. Everyone. I mean,
Reece James.
Yeah, Reece James. He's hurt though. He's always hurt. But everyone you can think about, gone. Everyone, all the playmakers, everyone you could possibly even fathom is out. No one's on that team. So you have a totally new team from the ground up, new coach, new owner, right? It's going to take us some time. And the problem with us is we don't give time, right? I heard they're already calling for Pochettino's head, right? They want, of course. Some people want him fired. I don't see why. I think it's way too early. The man has these guys are babies. This team, Nicholas Jackson. It's just a totally new team. You just have to.
Let's have a conversation though.
Yeah.
Is it that Pochettino is being scapegoated already and they don't want to blame the owner or the new players?
It's possible because you can't fire the owner, right?
No, but you can definitely blame him for the state of your club.
I blame him. I blamed him from day one when he came in and he fired Maria Gradovskoya, messing up her name now, and Peter Cech. I blamed him from day one. You don't come in and fire the whole front office football staff and then expect to do well. And then he fired Thomas Tuchel. After they gave him how much to buy all those players, I was like, this guy's all wrong. From day one. And I'm still not a fan, right? But you're kind of stuck with an owner, for a while at least. Remember when the Glazers took over Manchester United and the fans were protesting in the streets of Manchester? But at the end of the day, the Glazers still run Manchester United. So you're stuck with them for a while. A coach, he could be the scapegoat. I don't think Pochettino is doing bad. I think, if you just look at it, you take a bunch of individuals, put them together, say, here's your team, go compete in the EPL against teams like Arsenal that did very well last year, added some really good new pieces. Essentially, same team. City, Liverpool, these are good teams that have a structure, a foundation already built. You know, that it's so competitive in that league that, you know, you coming in like this, anyone that has high expectations is not thinking right, man. You're just not. You can't. You got to give him at least a year. So I'll be very pleasantly surprised if we qualify for the Champions League this year. I really will be.
I'll be surprised if you guys get European football. I'll take it one forward.
I can't even argue with that.
Because right now you guys are in relegation form. Yes, you won a game today.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch the game, so I can't really compliment or criticize the performance. But from what I've seen from Chelsea, your goal scoring is not there this season. Your defense has somehow still held on, but even then, you could say that you guys are making a lot of defensive errors, and your players can't stay fit either. So you have a situation where you're fighting only in the Premier League and cup competitions, but your squad cannot even maintain fitness for a 4-game period. I've not seen Chelsea fit once this season. And Nkunku got injured before the season started. And I thought playing 1 game a week, you guys could handle it. But it looks like you couldn't handle the easier fixtures. And now the fixtures are about to get harder. You're about to be facing the Man Cities, the Arsenals, the top teams in the league, plus Brighton. And I think it's going to get more ugly in the next coming weeks.
You know, it's an interesting point you bring up, though. The fact that they're always injured. I wonder why. You know, are they overtraining them? Is our strength and conditioning department not that good? Because you're right, we're always injured. Is it something about the Stamford Bridge grass or the Cobham Training Center or something about the grass there? That because guys are always injured. Guys,
why is that?
I don't know.
I'll give you a reason. One, it's not the injuries. It might not be the manager's intensity or anything like that. The injuries have been happening across football. It's the level of games and amount of minutes all these guys have to play on a week-to-week basis, even in preseason. But when it comes to Chelsea specifically, Reece James is injury prone.
Yeah.
Some of these guys who are constantly getting injured, like Badiashile and stuff, just very unlucky. You can't really say anything there. But it takes a level of rotation for players to stay fit. And even if they were fit, some of these guys, you guys would be depending on them to play week in, week out. Am I wrong?
Yeah. But I think for us, it's really bizarre because we're not competing in any other league, right? We're solely EPL and the cup competition, right? So there isn't any European competition this year. But even before this season, we've always had this string of injuries, right? And I don't know if it's just luck or if it's something they do in terms of training. But to your point, I think we don't have a striker. I mean, we do, but he's young in the league and he's
not good enough yet.
Yeah. That's a blunt way of putting it. Yeah. He has the tools. You know, he has pace. You know, he gets into the right positions, but I think you need a little bit more than that to start. I mean, he needs a shot of confidence as well.
Yeah,
to
he's not a finisher.
Banging goals. Yeah, and you know what? I was watching our game against Villa recently, and there was a run he made where he got the ball and he ran and he didn't pass to Sterling. And I was watching the communication between both of them, right? It was clear that Sterling is calling the shots there, right? So he's the forward, right? And as forwards, you have to be able to go for goal at any time. But that confidence for him to do what he feels he needs to do isn't there, because you have a player like Sterling right there who's going to be like, yo, give me the ball if it's time to score. Like, don't run and try to score. You pass the ball to me. So I think that's also a part too, because
It's not good.
he's young in the system.
I think we're over analyzing it. It's simply put, Chelsea have the possession. They can boss the midfield. They create chances, but they don't have the shooting boots. They don't have the composure in front of goal to finish the chances. And if we put it down to coaching this season, Pochettino has not had enough time to be scapegoated as the problem. And your players, even though they're making individual mistakes, I think this squad building is not done in one window. The fact that you guys are trying to get everything done so quickly, there's going to need to be a level of patience. And I'm not seeing enough of that. So I would say give it time. And Pochettino is going to have growing pains. There's going to be growing pains for a lot of this team. But until they have enough time together to actually build, you never know. And if you guys keep sacking managers, how many managers are you going to be on before you realize it's not the managers and it's the way you guys are trying to construct the squad is not feasible.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, but they're not going to give. I don't see them giving Pochettino time. It's just the nature of the team.
So you think Poch is going to get sacked? You see
I
the
hope not.
You've
I
seen the
hope not.
fixture.
Yeah, I hope not. But I've
You've
seen
seen the
stranger
fixtures
things
though.
happen at Chelsea. Yeah, I hope not, though. I really hope he doesn't get sacked.
But the fixtures, he really could.
He could, but it just, when you look at the bigger picture, right? When you put together a team like this, how young they are, they're really young, and new, and you have a new coach, just right off this year, and just see exactly how things go from there.
No, but the fans won't allow that.
I know that's the problem, but you have to be realistic, though, right? Look at we just broke down the players. Is Sterling the guy that's going to take us to the promised land? Because that's our most experienced forward. It's not happening. You go to the midfield, right? You look at the guys
Enzo
playing.
the guy?
What's that?
Is Enzo the guy?
No, Enzo's not the guy. Not
so-
yet. Enzo's a hell of a player. So I think Enzo's a hell of a player. World Cup experience. I think he could do a lot of good things, but I don't think his experience in the EPL is at that level where he's ready to just take a team all the way through. Plus, he needs help. He needs help. Thiago Silva is doing his best to keep our defense together, but he has a lot of young guys playing with him. So we have that issue as well. So I just feel, people just need to just.
Is Osihmen the guy? Because that's who we're going to be talking about today, right?
Yeah, that's a good transition, right? So I think yes. I think you're looking at a player. If you were to compare him to Nicholas Jackson, right? You're looking at a player who was fantastic at Lille in France, who had to earn his stripes the hard way when he went to Germany after the U17 World Cup. He played for Nigerian U17 World Cup, won the Golden Boots, goes to Germany, gets loaned out a couple of times as a young player, eventually gets a spot on the team, starts to play fantastic, gets bought by Lille, goes to Lille, and just destroys the French league. Absolutely annihilates it.
He won the league, no?
Did Lille win the league? I can't remember. It might have.
I swear Lille won the league, no?
Yeah, I know they made Champions League. So
they won the league.
He's gone to teams that have been kind of mediocre, and he's taken them from one stage to the next. All things being equal, he didn't do it by himself, but he was able to do it, right? He did it with Lille. Napoli were not title contenders. And given the number of goals he scored at Napoli, they would not have won the Scudetto had he not been that player, right? So goes to Napoli. Look at what he does. Absolutely destroys the league. He's a savage. He's a savage at Napoli. Now this comes out. Misses a penalty, right? And your own team, right? Your own team does this to you, putting out and with Italy, given all the history they've had with racism and fans throwing bananas on the field and all the nonsense that players have had to deal with through the years and teams being forced to play at empty stadiums, right? For your own team to do this is disheartening. Honestly, I don't see how he could confidently play there.
Okay. I'm just gonna say, if I was Dominic Solanke, sorry, not Dominic Solanke. If I was, what's it called? Why did I think of Dominic Solanke? I'm sick. Victor Osihmen, because we're playing Bournemouth this weekend, and I'm thinking about him. If I'm Victor Osihmen, why would I go to Chelsea? I would rather stay at Napoli, where they just released a video making fun of me, than go to Chelsea. Now, that might be harsh, but the honest truth, what encourages a player to go to Chelsea right now? Yes, he might be a former Chelsea fan. Yes, but Chelsea at this moment in time, they're a place where attackers they go there and their careers are somewhat diminished. It's not the pressure for playing for Chelsea. It's just the way Chelsea sign players. They sign them based on name. They don't sign them based off fit. For the last how many years? Enzo Fernandez, you signed him. I don't really understand what you guys were planning on doing with him in the short term. Caicedo, I get it, but still, it's going to take him time. Some of these guys, there's going to be another manager coming in through the door before they even get themselves in form for your team. If you sign a striker coming from a team where he's already experiencing issues with the Twitter account stuff and everything like that, and he might be putting legal action, do you think coming to Chelsea is the most healthiest environment for him to come to? He'll have a plethora of options. He'll have Arsenal. He'll have Manchester United might come back in for him. PSG could come in for him. There's so many other options. I don't think Chelsea's the first choice. And that's not to burst your bubble, because I do see why you'd want him, and anybody would want him. He just wants the Scudetto for Napoli. But am I wrong here to say if he has any choice of any team in the world, Chelsea's not the first team on his name on the list? Let's be honest.
So let me say this. I think if I was to take an objective stance here, right? Obviously, my personal, I want him to come to Chelsea, right? Because I think he could make a name for himself and really help the team. But the one reason I would say he may not want to come to Chelsea is because we didn't qualify for Europe this year. So he's leaving a team that is in Europe to come down to a team that's not playing in Europe, only playing only playing cup championships and league games. That would be the con. But the pros for him, for Osihmen as a Nigerian international, knowing very well the views Chelsea has, one, in his home country, two, the stock or the value that his name will gain by playing for Chelsea as opposed to Napoli and playing in the EPL. Because here's what I believe is going to happen if he plays for Chelsea. I believe Osihmen is that ace. He will get double-digit goals in EPL. He has the pace, he has the power, he has the work ethic. And if he gets double-digit goals in the EPL, Chelsea makes top 4. He's the man. He takes us into Champions League. The rebirth of Drogba.
I have to stop you there. One.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he just join Arsenal?
He could. It won't be a bad decision either. Right?
If he wants to build his name, if he wants to go to a team that's actually competitive, if he wants to go to a team that needs a striker, he could be the finishing piece to help us win a league title. He could be a finishing piece to help us lift the Champions League or do something major. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm just merely saying Chelsea is not the best logical choice. And that's not an insult to Chelsea, but at this moment in time, why would people go to you guys?
Seriously. I mean, those are the benefits, right? If you come to a team doesn't have a forward, you're almost guaranteed every game. You could make the argument Arsenal doesn't have a forward either, so he's almost guaranteed every game. I get that. Arsenal would not be a bad decision. He goes to Arsenal. He has fantastic tools around him, already established team. He goes in as a forward. He's going to be the man. And Arsenal could just turn into something else, right? Yes. It's not a bad choice. I prefer he comes to Chelsea for selfish reasons, but I think he has the upside of Chelsea is that he can etch his name in at Stamford Bridge folklore because he came in and he became this double-digit goal guy who took us into Champions League and gave us our name back. That's what he becomes at Chelsea. Arsenal already, you guys are already in Champions League. You guys are already doing great. Like, things are already moving well. Like, he's just another piece you're bringing in, right? But it's not a bad decision if he goes to Arsenal because he could really, really help the team. But I was listening to what his agent was saying. I think his contract is up in 2025, so he gets the ability to renegotiate his contract early. I think his agent is trying to use this as a negotiating ploy, saying that he might take legal action because it forces the team into a certain corner, and then they have to feel like, okay, cool. Either they pay additional money or they're like, we don't want trouble. We're going to let him go.
How about this? This situation with Victor Osihmen, is it being blown out of proportion, or is this a situation where him getting called a coconut, them making fun of him missing the penalty, him having an issue with the manager because he wasn't supposed to take the penalty in the first place, apparently. It was supposed to be Kvaratskhelia. They lost the game. The fans are not against him. The teammates are actually not against him. He has more of an issue with the club and how they run their social media. Is this a salvageable thing, or is this 100% he's gone?
I don't know if it's salvageable. Is it salvageable? Yeah. Winning games and scoring goals could cure all wounds. So he starts to bang in some goals. Team forgives him. Everyone's happy again, right? But what's to say this goes away? Keep in mind, I saw your piece, by the way, which I thought was fantastic when you talked about how they crowned the other player king of Napoli when they did well. They didn't crown him, right? I don't care what anyone says. Players have egos, and they want, especially when you bang in the number of goals he did, he's going to look at that and go, yeah, well, it's Italy. They have a history of racism. That's his thinking, So you have to ask yourself, Osihmen is the man. He's in his prime right now. The EPL is the number one league in the world in terms of football. Why are you not playing in there when teams clearly want you? It's the next destination. There's nothing else to discuss. The only other option is if he goes to a Barca, a Real, a Bayern. Those are the only other options I could see him. But at the EPL, you have like four or five options of teams you can go to. Your home country, people follow EPL teams religiously. You see what I'm saying? So I think, it's the next destination. He'd be crazy not to even. So this gives him an ability to say, hey, I've helped you guys. It's been great. Napoli wants to make money off Osihmen. And that becomes a real stumbling block because 2025 is up there. If the conversation starts to go in a way where he's like, listen, I need to leave, Napoli's going to be like, well, here's the price, and that might be the reason why he doesn't join Arsenal, to be honest with you. Because Arsenal, you and I know.
100 million on Declan Rice, mate.
Yeah, that's Declan. Yeah, you spend, but after spending 100 million on Declan Rice, are you going to be able to cough up the money needed to get an Osihmen, another striker? We'll get a striker that you need.
I'm not gonna lie. I think we're gonna end up with Ivan Toney. I think if it's between 60 million for Ivan Toney or 150 for Victor Osihmen, we might not go and spend 150 on Victor Osihmen. But the reality of the situation is, if the striker had a choice on where he could end up, he would probably go to the team that's more competitive at this moment in time. And Chelsea are not competitive. The advantage Chelsea have is they don't care how much money they spend.
Yeah.
And that is a thing that can money can definitely get you over the hump.
Yeah. And Chelsea will spend that amount of money to get Osimhen. I promise you that. Because you think about it, if you have Nkuku and you get a Victor Osihmen, now you're looking at a totally different strike force for that team, right? So they'll look at it and say, hey, this guy could get us into the Champions League. We get in the Champions League, we're back. And we add more pieces, now we could compete in Europe.
I think you're being too optimistic. The reality of the situation is Victor Osihmen does not look at Chelsea and say to himself, the only way Chelsea come to the table is money talks.
Yeah.
Sporting project wise, at this moment in time, even Tottenham have a more attractive project. That's just based off of the fact that Chelsea I don't think they're going to be in Europe next season. And that's based off assumptions. But if you go into January transfer window and you try to get Victor Osihmen, like you did Enzo Fernandez, and you spend a ridiculous amount of money to get him, maybe 150, break your club record, because that's what it's going to take for him to come to Chelsea.
So here's the thing. You said money is the only reason, right? Money is everything when it comes to the transfer windows, right? Napoli wants money. His agents and advisors want money. He wants money, right? End of the day, Napoli is going to sell that player to whomever is willing to cough up the cheese to get him. And they're going to sell him before 2025 before his contract expires. So it's going to come down to money. And keep in mind, even if Osimhen says, I like Arsenal, I prefer Arsenal, and Napoli says it's 150 mil, and Arsenal is like, that's too much for a player, guess what? He's not going to Arsenal. Right? So at the end of the day, the player's preference may not actually turn out to be the reason why he goes to a team. It's the business that's going to decide this. So Chelsea being ready to cough up that money puts them in a really good position. And they could sell a dream to him. They tell him, listen, you're going to be the man. You are going to start every game. He doesn't have to worry about that. And if he does well, the only hard pill I think he has to swallow is he's not going to play in Europe. He's solely going to play in English league, and that's going to be it. And I think that'd be the more difficult, if he can go that route, then fine. But he's going to be at Chelsea. Let's not lose track of that now.
Okay.
That name means something, right?
Bro,
and especially in his home
I have
country.
to stop you.
In
PSG,
Nigeria,
PSG come in. Does he not go to PSG?
I don't see it.
Okay. Arsenal come in.
It's Ligue 1 compared to EPL.
Arsenal come in. Does he go to Arsenal?
He could, if Arsenal pays the money.
Okay. Outside of those two teams, Manchester United, they just signed Rasmus Højlund. Say they want another striker. Rasmus Højlund's not good enough. Do you see that happening?
That could happen.
Now, I get why Chelsea...
I actually feel that may actually even be more
I think
feasible.
The most realistic option is Arsenal or Chelsea. But if we're going to be honest, the clearest way for him to join the Premier League is if Chelsea cough up the money for Victor Osihmen. And he also fits the quota because he's under 25, right? He's 25 or under.
Yeah, I think it's about 25.
So based on that, he fits the quota for your youth project. If you guys get him, your game changes. You have a clinical striker. You no longer are on however many goals you're on, 5 goals. You're probably now on 10 goals. He probably gets you 5 more goals this season than Jackson has already gotten. And he probably finishes off the West Ham game, Nottingham Forest, and the previous game that you had, there was a 0-0 draw. So with that being said, I understand why Victor Osihmen is a great signing for Chelsea. and that it could possibly happen, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to the actual issues now. He's having issues with Napoli over social media, some underlining racism, and that people are saying, of course, and this whole social media thing. This whole
Yeah.
social media thing, even if it does get blown over, Napoli are an extremely difficult team to deal with in the transfer market.
Yeah.
Could it be a situation where another club beats Chelsea to the signing?
It's possible. Another club outside of the EPL.
I don't think outside of the EPL, besides PSG, is possible.
I mean, in this game, money talks, man. I mean, did we think that moving into this season, we would see the number of players we've seen go to Saudi Arabia?
No.
No.
Could Victor Osihmen go to Saudi Arabia? I don't think
No,
so.
I don't. He wouldn't go to Saudi Arabia. But I'm just saying, when you think about it, right? Sadio Mane, that shocked me, right? You just think about it, like the players we saw move, they splashed a lot of money out, and so they say, yeah, we're gonna go. But what that does now is Saudi Arabia is not a player. They could bid for Osimhen, and he would think about it because of the amount of money they would put on the table. So if everyone's coming in and saying 80 mil, 100 mil, 120, they're just coming like boom, 200 mil. And that's going to be hard for Osimhen to say, I don't want to go there. You know, that's what they did. And they ended up with all these players who've gone there now who are playing there. So now they become a platform that's attractive. But I think he wants to play in the EPL.
He might want to play in the EPL, but bro, Chelsea are a mess. And I think his people would probably advise him not to go to Chelsea.
Yeah, but his people might say don't go to Chelsea. They're not playing in Europe. I think that's the biggest strike against Chelsea, to be honest with you, is that they're not playing in Europe right now. So if
I don't think it's that.
And by the way, here's another thing.
It's your league position. Forget about
Yeah,
Europe.
But here's another thing, though. We're assuming that's if the transfer happens this year, which it may not. It may happen next summer.
Bro, Chelsea have to win games. They could get relegated. Obviously, I'm joking, but the fact is, you guys are on relegation form. Before you go and think about signing another £100 million signing, think about fixing your £100 million investments in house. You have Enzo, £100 million, has only won 4 games as a Chelsea player in the league. You spent £120 million on him. Caicedo, since he's come in, he's only witnessed 1 Chelsea victory. That's in the league, of course. He witnessed one today also. My point is, you have all this investment, but no direction. Figure 100%. Out your direction before you start buying another. Because are you going to buy a house before you figured out where you want to live, how you want to live, what kind of lifestyle you want, what kind of career you want? Does it make sense to buy a house and settle down somewhere and put all this investment in before you know what quality of life you want? No. So same way with Chelsea. Why spend a club record 150 million plus on Victor Osihmen when you don't even know what is going on with the rest of the squad yet?
No, it's a valid point though. But let me ask you this: when has that ever stopped us? Right?
It hasn't.
When he fired Tuchel, right? They just gave Tuchel how much money in that transfer window to spend? He didn't even get a chance to lead the guys he just spent all the money on, and they canned him, right? When he brought in the guy from BHA who came in, Graham Potter came in. Potter bought players, and they fired Potter. Yeah, so it doesn't. We're talking Chelsea here,
but now he doesn't buy the players for the manager.
What's that?
He clearly doesn't buy the players for the manager.
Or no, else this guy. I'm not a fan. Listen, if this was Abramovich,
you would have more experience.
It'll be different. First of all, he had those footballing minds, whether it was Mike Emenalo when we won all those championships, or it was Maria when she came in, or it was Peter Cech when he hired him. He had those football minds there, and they were able to guide him and make decisions. The decisions were made. Yeah, we still spent money, but it was smart. But look at the youth players we created.
So right? Are you saying Todd Bowley's the problem?
What's that?
Are you saying Tom Bowley's the
Tammy
problem?
Abraham, Tomori. The list goes on and on. These are players now who are making names for themselves all across Europe. All came from
Callum
Chelsea
Hudson-Odoi
Academy.
scored a goal the other day for Nottingham Forest.
Yeah. See, Ola
My
Aina that
question to
plays
you
for.
is Bowley the problem? What's the problem at Chelsea? Because
Right now, the problem is we right now we have
if
a
the
new owner.
problem is no striker, Victor Osimhen's the solution. But if the problem is deeper than just the striker, Victor Osimhen doesn't solve it.
I think so. So here's my thought process to it. I think it's still early. I think we have brand new coach. We talked about this a little earlier. Brand new team, right? I think we're trying to put all the pieces together, and I think it just takes time. You don't have this kind of formula, and all of a sudden a coach comes in and he just bam, 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 winning games, right? We need to let it play out. Let it build. Let Pochettino work. That's what needs to happen. It's sad because it's a very tough league. You're not going to be given time to work. And Pochettino knows that. He's coached in this league before. He knows exactly what he's up against. But I think we're at a point where we need to just let the guys build, and their confidence needs to grow. I mean, we won today, so that helps, right? But their confidence needs to grow, and they'll go in and start trying to win some games. I think the Osimhen piece, I think that takes us over the hump, puts us back where we need to be. That's what I think. Listen, I was pushing for them to buy him last year. I said buy him last year. You know, because Osimhen, the way he plays football, he's very intense. You know, that's why he wears a mask now, because he smashed his face. But he's very intense. And when you play the way he plays, I might say Osimhen may have 3 more years max. Honestly, I think so. Because if you watch him, he presses hard. When he loses the ball, he fights for it. He's always going for balls up in the air. He's very good in the air. He has pace, so he outruns defenders, and he does a lot of things with a lot of intensity. And that's the same way when he plays for Nigeria, same exact way. So those wheels will start to slow down, given the number of games that he plays and everything. You know, that's what happens. So I think there's a window here where people could cash in on him. And that window is the next 3 years. And he needs to be smart enough to know, okay, I could go to England, play the next 3 years in England, make a name for myself, do well, hopefully win Champions League or whatever. And then I could go to Saudi Arabia, right? And then I could go to Saudi Arabia and go make extra money and then sail off into the sunset. You know, I don't know what you think, but I think for you guys, you definitely need someone that could support Bukayo Saka.
Bro, I think we're gonna get Ivan Toney. I don't actually believe.
But Tony seems like a live wire, right? He just seems like a kind of guy that's just it's out there. He doesn't seem like a team guy. You see what I'm saying? Like he seems like a thuggish kind of guy playing for a club, right? And Arsenal's guys seem like guys that play within a team. You know, their heads on straight, they combine and they play well. I don't know if he can play under Arteta's system. I don't know. You tell me. What do you think?
I think Victor Osimhen can play in any tactical system.
That's Osimhen. I'm talking about Tony.
Tony.
Yeah.
Bro, Ivan Toney is a really good footballer. I think Ivan Toney would absolutely thrive at Arsenal. He's somebody who's really good holding up the ball. He's somebody who's really good under pressure. He's somebody who can link up play, release forwards. He could unlock Martinelli and Saka to a next level. I think he could put Harry Kane level stats up at Arsenal. Really? This is a striker who I rate to the level where I think after Harry Kane, before Haaland came, he was the second best striker. Now that Kane is left, when he's back, I think he's going to be the second best striker in this league. Better than Darwin Núñez.
Good. Don't get me wrong. He's very good.
Better than Evan Ferguson. I don't think there's a striker besides Haaland in the Premier League right now that's better than Ivan Toney.
Do you think his temperament could fit under Arteta's system?
What is his temperament? How do
He
you know what
he seems out there. Didn't he have some gambling issues?
we don't
What was
know
it,
the
last
whole
year, a
truth
year
behind
ago?
that.
And then when you watch him, he doesn't seem like an even keel kind of guy. Even
What
when
does
he
that
plays,
mean?
he seems to have a rough edge around him, right?
Based on what? Based on the fact that
Based on watching him, his temperament when he
don't
plays.
you want people like that on your team instead of on the opponent?
It depends on the player, right? When you look at Arsenal's players, they come together and they play, and these guys, they
Are they
compete.
soft? Are you calling us soft?
No, not soft. Smart. When you look at your players,
You don't think Ivan Toney's smart?
I don't know. I'm not saying he's not smart. I
Bro,
just
Ivan
think he goes off the cuff.
Toney,
And when you compare him to the kind of guys when you look at Arsenal's players, I'll use Bukayo Saka as an example, right?
okay.
That's a very smart player.
I'll
Highly
tell you
intelligent
something.
player.
You don't score 35 goals in the championship. You don't come to the Premier League score 20 goals. You don't do this at a team like Brentford and not be good. If he gets better players around him, similar to how Declan Rice is now about to get better players around him, you could see him go to the moon. I think Ivan Toney is a player, if it wasn't for his ban, he would be at Chelsea right now, in my opinion. Or he would be at Arsenal right now. Genuinely.
When does his ban end?
His ban ends in January.
So that's interesting. So he might be rusty when he comes off.
No, not true. Because he's not injured. He's not coming back from a knee injury.
Is he allowed to train with the team, but not?
Yes, he's currently at Brentford facilities training. This is similar to what happened in the NFL with Calvin Ridley. You watched the NFL.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley came back first game, killed it. It's a situation where players, when they're suspended or when they're not active due to something that's not injury related, what it actually does, it keeps them more fit than it would if they were injured. They were injured.
Yes, it depends on the player because there's also a downside to it, right? Some guys, they step away from the game. They're not getting the bright lights, consistent experience, and their form dips.
No,
you see what I'm saying? So
there is no form.
What's that?
There is no form. He's not playing. What he's doing, he's training to be a better player. He's actually, the fact that he's not playing football for these many months means when he comes back, he's going to be more fit, more available than ever before.
Do you think Arteta would want him though?
I think Arteta would take him. I think Arteta can see when a player can honestly, I question him now because of Kai Havertz signing, but when it comes to what Mikel Arteta wants from a player, I think Ivan Toney amplifies the hard work. He's another person who can be a leader in the team. Also, he's a little bit older, closer to his prime, so it gives us another more seasoned vet. And to be honest, bro, if I had a choice between taking Eddie Nketiah and Jesus or Ivan Toney and Jesus to the Bernabeu, I'd rather take Ivan Toney.
Whoa. Over Jesus?
Yeah.
Wow. I think Jesus has been suffering. He had injuries, right? Had injury issues.
Jesus is not an out-and-out goal scorer. Jesus is a really good striker, but I don't know what Pep Guardiola did to him, but the guy is not a finisher. He is not a finisher. He doesn't finish the chances to the level that we need him. He does everything well. But if Jesus' finishing was on the top level, he could be one of the best strikers in the world. But his finishing is not there. Where Ivan Toney, his finishing is there.
No, Tony's good. I've watched him at Brentford, man. I think when we played him, he even scored.
His weak foot, his strong foot, free kicks, penalties, assists,
pace,
link-up play, pace, strength. The fact that we will now have an out ball when we kick the ball long that will stick to him. We don't have that right now. You know who our out ball right now is? Kicking it long to Havertz or Saka.
Havertz doesn't have pace, though. Havertz can hold up the ball.
We kick the ball long to him, he'll bring it down.
Yeah, he brings it down. He always brings it down. He tries to hold it up and then release players. But Havertz is a good player, man. Very good player. I don't know. Maybe he's still trying to take some time to gel into your system.
Yeah.
But I thought you guys got a good player there that you can actually use. His hey, he's the kind of guy that's a good support striker. He's not the guy to get you the goals. That's what I see with Havertz.
The thing is, his decision making is questionable, bro. That's the thing. Havertz's decision making is questionable to me. That's my whole thing.
No, I think Tony's good. Obviously, Osimhen would be 10 times better for you guys if he was to come in there. That guy changes teams. I promise you. If you go back and go watch him at Lille, it'll blow your mind. Lille they always competed, but they were never there. He went to Lille and made it a totally different team. I mean, same thing in Napoli. You and I know where Napoli was in Serie A. He goes in there and he just absolutely becomes a stud, destroys the team, wins the Scudetto, almost goes all the way to Champions League finals, right? They lost to AC Milan. So he's that guy, man. And I think he needs to get out of there. The sooner he gets out of Napoli, the better, because especially with this thing happening, you know how you stay at a place a little too long, right? And your best years, you give it to that place, and you end up leaving and going to like the EPL, and everyone's like, man, I wish he came 2 years ago, right? That's what I'm afraid of with Osimhen. I think he needs to leave, and he needs to leave now. And he needs to go into EPL. And I think Chelsea would be a fantastic fit, especially since it was his childhood club. He's always been a Chelsea fan, right? So I think that would be a really good fit for him. And I think Arsenal could also be a good fit, maybe as a close second. but I think it'd be he needs to leave Italy. I mean, they're putting his face as a coconut. Come on, in the 21st century, who does that?
He needs to get the hell out of there.
Straight up, man.
I don't know if it's gonna happen.
I don't know, man. I really liked your piece yesterday. When I saw it, I was laughing because he was like, man. And then the snapshot you took of when they crowned the other guy, I don't want to mess up his name, when they crowned him as the king of Napoli. That was really profound because that was a diss to Osihmen. Straight up. It was a diss to Osihmen. It's like, let me see. What analogy can I apply to this? It's like City, right? Their forward Haaland. It's like giving Foden the crown when we know what happened last year, right? It doesn't make any sense. So I think, you just look at that situation and you go, yeah, they pissed all over him. And, he needs to get out of there. Chelsea will be a good fit. I think Arsenal might be good. United, I'm not so sure. But I definitely know those two teams would be really good for him. Or he could go to Spurs and play against Arsenal, right? What do you think?
I think, bro, Ivan Toney, Victor Osihmen, right now, who would you take? 150 million or Ivan Toney 50 million? Talk to me.
Well, given how tight with money Arsenal has been over the decades, I mean, they're going to go with Ivan Toney.
Okay. Now,
they're
Chelsea.
not going to spend that money.
Now, everyone in the world, Napoli tell you 150 million for Victor Osihmen. Note that they don't have to sell him.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I think Chelsea, if it was up to Chelsea, that team, I think they'll cough up the money to get him. He's a proven one. This isn't, I forgot how much they pay for Nicholas Jackson. I could look it up. But he is a proven player. This is not, you're getting a guy who's a straight killer coming into your team. The whole offense will change. That's the kind of guy he is. Where you know how Sterling is struggling to find openings. Immediately, Sterling will start finding openings, and he'll start scoring more goals just by having a guy like that there. That's the kind of effect he'll have. You know, at Arsenal, he'll be fantastic because that stuff that Bukayo Saka does on the right hand side, where he holds the ball and he just torments defenses. Imagine if you had an Osihmen playing right next to him. Come on, man. You guys might do the double. I'm serious, man.
I would love it. Honestly, I don't care as long as we get one of them. Or if we go and get Evan Ferguson, it's gonna be stupid.
Yeah.
Because
let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this seriously.
Yeah.
As long as I've known you, you've always been a diehard Arsenal fan. Where do you think you guys end up this year? You know, the joke on Arsenal, which you surprised me with last year, was that they'll find a way to falter. Which, by the way, you guys did falter last year. You were doing so well, and that curse caught up with you again. But what happens this year?
We compete for the Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup, see what trophies we can get. I want to compete, at least get to a final in one of the domestic cups, minimum semi or quarterfinals in the Champions League. And in the league, the aim is to try to win it. No lie.
Seriously.
We started off quite slow, but as Man City have shown in the last couple of years, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And if we can finish well, we can win this league. Right now, it does look very difficult because we're starting off really slow. But yet, we're still undefeated. Still one of the top teams in the league right now, even though we're tied for 4th. And we just dropped points at home against Tottenham.
Yeah, that game was interesting though. I thought you gave up some goals that you had no business giving up against Spurs with Son. You gave Son a brace. It was interesting because I was like, you know, those goals, not from Son at least, you know, I didn't think he should have been able to bang in the goals he did. You know, so do you think your defense needs work?
Defense needs work for what?
In terms of getting better, because Son was able to expose some holes in Arsenal's defense.
I think our defense at home has always been a little questionable. It's just our defense when we're away from home is a different story. Watch against Bournemouth on the weekend, we'll keep a clean sheet. But when we go back home against Man City, we're going to concede.
Yeah.
It's just, I know it's Man City, but even if we faced Bournemouth at home, we would concede. When we face teams away, we're a little bit more controlled and more keep the clean sheet. Where when we're at home, we're like, get the goals, shoot. It's different. And we have to fix our mentality. It's just, somebody said this to me the other day. We're too emotional. We score a goal, we celebrate like we win the league, every goal. They need to calm down, level head, relax. Because against Tottenham, we conceded 2 goals immediately after scoring. It's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
So
wait a second. What happened to Thomas Partey? He's hurt?
Injuries.
Yeah, man, you guys are missing.
Declan Rice, injured. Saka, injured. Martinelli, injured. Trossard, injured. Against Bournemouth, we have a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
Midfield is going to be Odegaard, Jorginho, Kai Havertz against Bournemouth. Or Odegaard, Jorginho, and Fabio Vieira.
Odegaard is good. Jorginho, he could get caught up if you have a pacey player on him. He could get exposed.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the downside.
That's what happened with Maddison's goal.
Yeah.
I mean, Maddison stole the ball off Jorginho, got the assist for Son's second goal. 2-2. Just like that.
No, man. But I think it's as we kind of round up, I think, you know, your piece on Osihmen was really good. That's why I wanted to have you on. I was like, I need to talk to my man. That was a good piece. And then I think, you know, people kind of make it seem like the whole racist incident in Italy has gone away. It hasn't. If Napoli could
You
do,
know, people have the audacity to say, "Oh, it's just fun."
no, it's not just
What's
fun.
funny about it? Calling him a
It's not just
coconut.
fun. If it's not just fun, they had the whole thing with the monkey chants and all that stuff, and that was a big thing with that league. And then now you're having this with Osihmen, and in the league, and his own team did this to him, which means these people don't understand. Or no, not I won't say they don't understand. They don't want to understand the implications of having racist tropes and racist jokes and against people, right? And I always say this to people. I'm like, listen, you think it's fun and games, right? Yeah.
They
But your
do.
fun and games, that line gets drawn if it becomes something. You don't make fun of Jewish people, do you? And they go, no. I'm like, why not? If it's just fun and games, you should make fun of everyone. You draw the line there. So it's not just fun and games. You do this because you think you can get away with it when it comes to dealing with people of Afro origin. And that's the messed up part, right?
And the reason why they think they can get away with it is because they have been getting away with it.
Correct.
For how many years?
For years, for a long time. For a long time. Remember, FIFA dragged its feet into passing this anti-racism thing. It didn't want to pass it for a long time. And then eventually stamp out racism, kick out no room for racism. That's this whole, but it's right now it's just a campaign, it's a slogan. It's a feel-good thing to make them look good. It's not an actual thing in practice, right? Because you don't see the zero tolerance that they should apply to it. Players had to speak out, things had to be done for them to even take action. Like the kind of action that they take now, which is like, oh, they might make you play in front of an empty stadium and slap you with a fine. But ultimately, it wasn't. So the level of seriousness that should be applied to it from a world football governing perspective hasn't been. And that's why you see people feel comfortable. And the fact that they did this to him is just kind of like, you know what? It doesn't matter what you've done with us. We still see you a certain way. Right? And it's unfortunate, man, because the business of football is still there, which is even if he puts in a request to leave, they're just gonna slap a price on him. You see what I'm saying?
And what about kick it out? All these campaigns, what are they good for? If when these things happen consistently, though.
You remember when George Floyd died, or when he was murdered rather. The what was the whole theme you saw around the world? Oh, people putting up all these slogans, stop, I can't breathe signs. It was all a feel-good campaign. But
it was to make people feel better.
Yeah, it was make people feel better about themselves, right? But the actual meat and potatoes of what needed to be done, right? EPL games, people wore patches, they put up signs, they stood there, okay? But how many black coaches do you have in the EPL? Vieira?
I can't think of too many.
There you
Vieira's
go.
not even coaching.
There you go. So if you think about it, right, over the history, it's one thing for you to say something. It's another thing to see it in practice. Given all the players that have played in the EPL that have gotten their coaching badges, how many of them get opportunities to even interview for head coaching jobs? I'll never forget, you would always see Sam Allardyce get jobs. He could lose 8 games in a row, take a team into relegation, and then boom, next thing you know, Sam Allardyce got another job. Right? You would always see that. But there were so many guys, I mean, they don't even get a shot. So you think about it, it's like, okay, you want to stamp out racism on one part, but you don't want to create opportunities for coaches that are black in the EPL. So those are things that people need to look at when they look at these things that, I could care less about your signs and your, stamp out racism. I don't care about that. Or instead of saying stamp out racism, how about if you have any racist behavior in your stadium, your team loses a ton of points that could jeopardize your ability to win the league or put you into relegation. I'll take that instead. Keep your signs. Your signs don't do anything for me. right? It doesn't change anything. It's a marketing campaign to make that organization look good. That's what it is. That's all it is. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's with this thing with Osihmen, it's the football business that's really irking me, because it's like he can leave even if he wanted to. Like, he's stuck.
He's under contract.
He's under contract, and guess what? If he pisses them off too much, they'll just say his fee is 200 million. So he will have to play with them up until his contract expires, which is crazy. But that's
not gonna happen.
the game, man. You know, he's nothing.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I think it's gonna be a situation where they're gonna sell him this summer.
I hope so. I hope so, because he's getting older. You don't want your best years in football to be at Napoli. You know, and to me, I would prefer for him to come to Chelsea because I'm a Chelsea fan. But honestly, I don't care. If he goes to Arsenal and plays his best years at Arsenal, I'll be happy for him.
Bro, that's so. Do you know what you just said?
Yeah.
That's so harsh. You don't want your best years to be at Napoli.
No.
Do you know how harsh that is for a Napoli fan to hear?
I don't care. Think about it though. The EPL is the best platform in the world, man. So at the end of the day, do you want to play your best years in the EPL? And he's a Nigerian, right? Everyone in his country follows the EPL hard. Why would he want to have his best years at Napoli? Doesn't make any sense.
Maybe he could have been a one-man club afterwards.
But check this out. If the Napoli fans and the team appreciated him that much,
his
then
fans
that would have.
do.
Yeah, maybe they do. They probably do. Let me not say that. You know, they probably do. But
the fans are innocent in this situation.
I heard they pulled down the posting though. I heard they put it up and they pulled it down.
Of course, after the backlash, they had to.
Yeah. So, you know, but yeah,
he made a mistake.
But he definitely wants his best years to be in the EPL. You don't want your downward years to be in the EPL. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you get the biggest platform, but you're on your way down.
Bro, that's harsh.
It's hard. Yeah, it is. It's the truth.
I'm gonna have to go, bro. I'm honestly, I'm exhausted.
My man, it's always a pleasure seeing you. I know it's late over there, man. We need to do this again.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. My man. Thanks, man.
Have a good one, okay?
Right.